Somewhere in the endless war, someone decided to build not just a bunker base, but something insane, ambitious, and beautiful. A dream forged not in silence, but in hammering and hauling. A dream carried not by heroes, but by the quiet, tireless souls most never see. Here in the cold hex of Westgate, a miracle was built, the Westgate Mega Factory. Spanning the entire hex is a facility so vast it defies convention. 50 full-scale tank assembly lines grind day and night, powering an industrial marvel the likes of which Foxhole has never seen. At its heart, the Order of the Knights, supported by a coalition of regiments, Joe, Slay, TL, Pink, and all other smaller regiments operating as one. No borders, no bureaucracy, just a singular purpose: to fuel the Colonial Legion's armored might. It takes over 250,000 maintenance supplies in a single day just to keep this place alive. Every inch, every power line, every pipe placed with intention. There's no waste here, only purpose. Then came the storm, a Tier 5 blizzard, the kind that shuts the world down, blanketed the factory in silence. Machines iced over, breath froze in the air, and yet the work never stopped. Some say it was sabotage, others call it divine irony. Few conspiracies even claim Westgate never knows that this storm was summoned, fabricated, that we were living through Frostpunk. And then someone called it a candy shop because everything was frozen and everything was free. Yes, free. They gave it all away. Every battle tank, every railstorm cannon, every monstrous toys. No payment, no reservations, no politics. Just steel, sent to the front, sent to win. Because this wasn't about control, it was about contribution. It was about sacrifice, about building something bigger than any one regiment, any one player. And through all of it stood one man. His name is Torre. This is the story of the Westgate Mega Factory, a place born of frost, fire, and fate. Whether you're a soldier, a hauler, commander, or just a soul looking for something to believe in, this is something you need to see.
We are experts on facilities, so like that's been like our bread and butter. That's been what we've always focused on, is facilities. Yeah, we play both sides. We're a neutral regiment. We ever since Works has died, we are on collies more. We don't like to fight with other regiments. So like we're a very giving clan, but we don't like to have to fight our fellow clanmen or whatever. So basically the collies give us whatever field we want, and then the wardens, like, it's with Works not being alive, it's very difficult for us to get a field because we don't want to have to fight for it. This is where we make the M-subs for half the base. It's to the left here. We have to run 120,000 M-subs for the north part of the base and about 100,000 for the south part. Yeah, so the only thing we're responsible for is the north part of the bulwark, and then the Joes is taking care of the south part. We have to farm this about 15 times a day, and then the Joes have to farm their field 14 times a day for M-subs. But they also have a mine, so that makes it a little bit easier. They don't have to farm it as much. Yeah, Joe's is another neutral regiment. And they used to be more neutral, but now they are also more collie, just because the wardens gave them a bad score on works when they were one of the top producers. They made a whole bunch of BTs similar to this war, but they were given a bad score because they only produced BTs, and they said that since it was just one item, they get a reduced score. Anyways, so like it was just politics basically. This is where we do all of the main production. This is where we turn coal into coke and coke into A1s. We also make A2s, which are the basic assembly mats. And then we refine it further into A5s, and we make steel here too. And that's all relying on coke. So this is like tier 1 and tier 3 facility stuff. Yeah. Oh, and yeah. So that's another thing that makes this very workable, is this entire hex is being ran by 2 regiments. Everything that's built is basically one of 2 regiments. It's either Knight or Joe's, with very little exception. Up in the very corners, you have maybe a LARP regiment or a tiny little upgrading pads from SOM, which they supply themselves. They bring it outside the hex. Down here, we have 2 salvage fields, and this is what basically Joe's does all day, is they run their salvage fields. And they turn salvage into pecons. So this is where you get your tier 2 resources. So basically we take our tier 1, and then we mix it with tier 2 at our facility, and then we make tier 3 stuff, and then we throw the tier 3 into the pads that makes the tanks.
Alright, so obviously we mine the fields and pull from the excavators here and put it into the mat facts. Both of these 2 are for CMATs only, and then this assembly bay is for the beams only, and then this last one down here does do MSUPs, which kind of helps with when we're low on it. And then back here where Tigers is at, he's actually pulling CMATs and beams from the mat facts and putting them into the recyclers back here. And then the recyclers are producing pecons. And then back on the back side of it, there's a small gauge train. Actually, it's probably, yeah, they've got it parked out all the way out front. But they can load the pecons up here, and then the cranes on both sides of the road can pull it and drop them onto the trains that are coming through here. And then also over here on this side, the opposite field, this field is way better configured for the actual production of the pecons. So then this one set up the
Workers
exact
rejoice.
same way.
Defeat the AFK leaders.
And so obviously you would load all of the pecons from these 3 recyclers onto pallets, and then these 2 cranes or 3 cranes out here can completely load up the train. So then they're transporting 12 to 1400 pecons every train load, and they usually try to do about 5 to 7 train loads a day worth of pecons to take it down there. And we just bounce back and forth between these 2 fields and try to keep it full. So our maximum capacity, if the field is actually up for 24 hours, would be somewhere around 40,000 pecans a day. Our goal is only about 20,000. If we do 20, then we're pretty good. Sometimes people come in and donate some components, and then that kind of helps us when we're making like BTDs and SPGs and stuff like that. Because I mean, if we're just gonna be real, there's no way we're gonna keep this field up 24 hours a day.
We have a little bit of surplus, so there's another group called Pink that tried to operate the coal field down here. They didn't know what they were doing. They weren't supposed to have the coal field. One of their members got it accidentally. They thought they were going to go somewhere else. Anyways, they ended up claiming this coal field, and like I said, they didn't really know what to do with it. So what they ended up doing is allowing us to farm the coal. We've been stockpiling some A1s here, so that when we eventually run out, we'll be able to make some A5s and steel down here. So this is basically like our little stockpile area that we haven't even touched yet. This is like a reserve area. But one of the big things that we've been doing is just taking the coal out of here and throwing it into the offshore platform and just farming the enriched oil there. Our main thing is just having a very, very active defense. So anytime that we see a blue dot or a blue triangle anywhere near the hex, even before they come into the hex, we usually can spot them, and we're on top of them. I know most of us are constantly looking at our maps, just waiting for a blue dot. We're watching a movie or whatever, and it's just all about seeing who spots the blue dot first. A lot of people just constantly are opening up their map or whatever, and then it's as soon as we see somebody, we let everybody know that we saw a blue dot, and we go after it. General King so that's Slay. Slay is basically the combat arm of Knight. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, we're like sister regiments. And like I said, a lot of people don't know that. It's wherever we go, Slay goes, and wherever Slay goes, we go. Slay follows us. Because we're the facility regiment, and so wherever we go, they go, and then we just make them the toys to play with. We make sure they have all of the toys. So like right off the start, we have 2 super heavy. Well, we made 4 super heavies, and they get 2 of them, and they will take those to the front line, and they know how to make work of super heavies. Yeah, get slayed, get slayed, get slayed. That's their catchphrase. But yeah, it's like I said, we're basically sister regiments. I don't think that's worth putting in your video, but I like to throw that little fact out there for people. So one thing that we did with defenses this war, which is a little unique, we have 1x1s behind our defenses. And we have them very, very tight, very close together, so that, you know, once you do bypass the defenses, you do have to worry about the 1x1s. We have pillboxes. Another thing that we have that's been a lot of fun is up here. And you just have a ton of, you know, AT pillboxes mixed with rifles, multi-layered defenses. One of the big things that we did this war as well And we're extremely well known for doing this. This is kind of one of the things that we've done quite often. Is do you see the big chain of LTSs? Like, it looks like a big snake going down the map. This is something the devs changed, and it's almost like they changed this based on what we did. Now there's a couple other regiments that do it, but I don't think anybody has ever done it as long distance as we have, and we've done it for a few wars like this. So this allows us to get a ton of oil into the spots, different spots in the hexes, very quickly. This is actually one of my favorite things to look at, is the power poles, and just how straight and organized, yet they're coming and going to different directions. Like, it's as so. What another thing that we do is each power pole is 16 megawatts. So each one of these power poles is a bunch of different. Basically, it's one of these, and each one of those power plants will operate 2 pads exactly. So we basically need 25 power plants to fund 24 large pads, or sorry, 48 large pads. We have 50 large pads, but one of them is kind of off-site and not really counted. So 49 is what you see in the big pen. The idea, now we're also making BTDs, we're making SPGs. With the amount of pads that we have, the idea is it can make 60 BTs. When you start making BTDs and super heavy tanks, those cost more than 60 BTs a day, but we're able to produce 60 BTs a day is the number. Realistically, we print like 50, and then we're printing like a bunch of BTDs, and we're also printing. We have 4 SPG pads, or not SPG, RSC pads. So we're definitely printing quite a few of those. Those are pretty expensive themselves. And then one of the things we're trying to figure out too is with this snowstorm, it's really slowing down our production. I'll show you something that one. Anyways, I've got a couple of pads that are offline because the battle tank is frozen on the pad, and you can't unfreeze it on tier 5 unless you build a fire next to it. So basically the pads that have already finished are stuck in production. And another thing that's tier 5 weather is just freezing. It's freezing our pipes, it's freezing our vehicles. So right now we're taking a little bit of a breather, telling my guys not to worry about it because it is a massive stress point. So these are all going to the public for free. We don't charge anything for any of this. The only thing that we charge for is the rare metal costs for the RSCs and the super heavy tanks. And that's just because that requires a lot of farming fields that for rare metals that is highly competitive, and I don't have the manpower for that. If I had the manpower for that, I would definitely make those for free too. It's actually funny. So we haven't had a tier 5 storm since weather stations have unlocked or have been released. As soon as we finished the first BT, we went into a snowstorm that eventually became a tier 5 snowstorm, and we all kind of laughed about that, and it didn't last very long. It lasted a few hours. But a little later, maybe about 8 hours ago, we sent 2 destroyers in and blew up and dehusked their engineering center. And as soon as we did that, then the devs decided to make another tier 5 storm here. Yeah, a lot of people are wondering if this is a dev-placed tier 5 storm, especially since we've had 2 tier 5 storms in the same war, and normally that's unheard of. I mean, we haven't had tier 5 winter storms since weather stations unlocked. And like I said, I don't know that for certain, but it's definitely interesting to see the timing of it for this facility. A lot of people are wondering if the devs are stress testing this facility or not. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but I find them to be fun. So one of the big things that we do is we have basically our rail line is internal, which means if somebody wants to go to one of the seaports or something, they don't use our rail to do that. The way we run MSUPs is something called an MSUP train, and that is an infantry car train. So we throw 6 infantry cars and 2 train engines, and that will allow us to run MSUPs very, very effectively. Yeah, so if you look at this train, it's got 14 empty slots. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize about this infantry car train, so this basically is like having 6 trucks that you can jump into the train engine, and I'll let you do it. And you can push E to interact with the bunker base, and it acts like a mini cart where you can access each one of the carts. And so if you fill it up, if you fill this up with MSUPs, then you can deposit it directly into your bunker base or maintenance tunnel. Yep, so that's exactly what we do. Is we'll take this train and we'll run it into the MSUP factory. So we, like I said, we clear the field about 16 times a day, 15 to 16. We have a channel where we're keeping track of everybody's clears to make sure that we're clearing it enough, because if we ever let off the gas, then we fall behind. And if we fall behind at 120,000 MSUPs a day, then we die.
It's easy to miss it if you've never been here, to look at the map and see only another hex, to pass through Westgate on the way to the next fight, never knowing what lies just beneath the frost. But if you stop and listen, you'll hear it. Not the roar of engines, not the grind of machines, but the heartbeat of every soldier who gave a piece of themselves to this place. The builder who worked in silence, the hauler who never complained, the commander who asked for nothing in return. They didn't do it for the praises, or the stats, or the screenshots. They did it because they believed that unity is still possible, that logistics can be beautiful, that a base can be more than just a structure. It can be a symbol, a promise that a dev's so-called vision can be accomplished. Westgate gave everything it had and asked for nothing back. In a game where destruction is constant, here stood something built to last. May not always be here, the war will move on, the map will change, but the memory of this place will outlive the game. The Westgate Mega Factory, not just a base, a wonder, a legacy, a love letter to what players can do together. This has been Adam. If this story moved you, share it. Let them know what was built here. Let them remember, because this was worth remembering.
Alright, beautiful. Yeah, I think I'm a subscriber. Let me make sure. YouTube. It's Edom, right? The same. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I meant to subscribe earlier. I probably subscribed on my main account, like my personal account. But anyways, yeah, I just went ahead and subbed.
You just have to be like the core math guy, of the streamer. You have to
roll up and be like, "Does my lord need a mathematician?" Or wait, I guess in medieval language it would be a physician because
the streamer's like, "Dude, it'd be sick if you built a giant pyramid." And it's like, "But sir, the enemy soldiers will just be able to climb it." Like, build a giant pyramid.
Build a giant pyramid.
And
he fears math because it makes him feel inferior.
Dude, what was that? There was you just unlocked a memory. It was like some guy, forgot who it was. Back in like ancient times, some African king was like, going to the builders and be like, I want you to build me a palace, but make the first brick be the very top one and then build your way down. It's like, sir, we can't fucking do that. Like, what? The gravity. Why? What? It was super weird. How is that guy king?
I mean, the worst is when leaders do that and they think they're helping. So, like, we think it'll make this easier if you do it this way. No, it isn't.
They teach you that story in engineering school?
No,
it was actually random engineering.
Random YouTube video. But anyway, I'm gonna park this bus. Thank you for joining. It was a very long, dragged-out tour. But yeah, again, if you want to help or if you know of people either in your regiments...
I'm going to try and help you by getting you in touch with the devs, okay?
Okay. Edom, I apologize. You just joined the tour and now it's over.
It was like a 3-hour long tour, so...
A 3-hour tour.
There's no way it was that long, was it?
I wasn't clocking.
Okay. But yeah, definitely. This place is in constant need of manpower. So yeah, I'm very. If you want to hear our stats right now, 1 second. So far we have produced 2 blood tenders, 10 RSCs, 11 shits, SHTs, 10 SPGs, 31 BTDs, and 156 battle tanks.
Ah, damn.
So
that's
still
cooking. You might be close to a record, I think.
We're trying to beat it. That's the thing. Record is like 240, I think. We're trying to blow that.
40, what? Just BTs?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, but with all the RSCs and the blood tenders and the super heavy tank.
Oh yeah. I think if you do it like the raw steel count and then divided by the BT, I think it's like equivalent to like a 250 BTs.
War is young.
Yeah.
War has only just begun.
Dude, the blizzard, but the snow started. I have a video of it within 60 seconds of the first battle tank being completed.
That's so funny.
That's a mod. Saw how much you were producing and went, oh.
As like we had like 50 people in the facility all wanting to grab battle tanks, and they're like minutes away from completing, and then the first one completes, it started snowing and everyone started freezing.
Yeah, but don't worry, the devs don't mess with the weather.
Yeah, no, I meme about that, but it is pretty fun.
The devs once tried to prove to us that they didn't mess with the weather by saying, look, we can mess with the weather.
Oh, another thing. So the weather got bad, it got to tier 5, right? It froze stuff. But we had a stockpile, so it was fine, and then it came back to tier 4, so the pipes thawed, and we thought we were fine. And then you go to Stilkin and dehusk that battle tank facilities engineering center, and within 5 minutes again, tier 5 storm again.
I love the tinfoil hat. I love it.
Like you just cursed us with that, right? killed the warden equivalent, quote unquote, and it's like, oh, here we go, gotta punish them again. Yep. That's what happened. Totally. 100%.
That's so funny.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you spoke a while earlier about people wanting to critically analyze their gameplay, and I've felt that way about Foxhole for quite a while. I've, been in a similar place to where you're describing, doing all the solo logi stuff, and I get by with it, but I've always hated the idea of doing clan man stuff because most of them are, like you said, hey, grab a shovel, help us dig this, we won't tell you why.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
this is one of the first groups I've seen that is literally tangible results of like, okay, we used our brains for this. And
Yeah.
if you guys are recruiting, I'd love to get in on that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, let's be real. Like, every group will have people who don't use brains. I mean, us included, because you have to have people that just manpower. But we at least try to tell them, thank you for joining us. If you want a BT, show up tomorrow. It's gonna be done.
I just think that it's awesome that our guys have stuck through this. We set out for a goal, and it seems like we're gonna blow it out of the water. And if anybody else wants to try to repeat this, they can, but they should probably be prepared for it to be one of their last wars because it is exhausting work. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're into facilities, so you can look at this and be like, oh yeah. Yeah, Cows is a very, very good facility group. Okay. Yeah, I like Cows a lot. Cows is a pretty good regiment. They know their facility. We got so on the Collie side in War 112. How long have you been playing this game? Okay. So in War 112, we stole your guys' bluefin idea, where you guys were running bluefins, and we looked at that and thought, oh man, that's a very strong thing.